Been kind of working on this little guy on and off for a few days. Well, really a few minutes out of a few days because it's just sort of been, hey, I put this little model together. It's got some stuff on it. You should try it out, that kind of thing. So now we've got this basic model. Looks like this. You got a turret, which kind of sticks up because you got magnets on it. You've got these little magnetic wheels, right? And you can see I hollowed it out. Well, I didn't hollow it out. It was already hollow, but I left it hollow, and I made it so the cap can come off and I can keep putting those magnets back on. And mainly because we're not done with this. This is just primer. Just because you prime something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're done with it and it's ready for paint. You might have other stuff you want to do to it. Priming it just kind of gives you this nice sort of, hey, this looks much more uniform and put together now that I can see it all in one color. But yeah, so there's other things you can do. One of those is accessorize. So I've got the wheels here. And as you can see, they probably didn't get too much paint, but I put some glue on here with, see that nice crusty chunk of whatever? That's, I just put a big blob of glue and then stuck some baking powder, baking soda. I gotta stop saying baking powder. Thanks, Andy. If you don't know who Andy Mecca is, he's the inventor of bacon powder. Yeah, go see his channel if you want to check that out. He does some pretty cool mods. Lots of robots. He's doing some ugly heads right now and airbrushing and video gaming and stuff like that. But anyway, today we're doing vehicles. Wheeled vehicles in particular. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be a wheeled vehicle. Maybe hovercraft are your thing. Maybe you want to go that route. So you can get the same thing and, boom, that's a hover engine, right? Or some sort of little device that keeps it from moving around. But, in the case of hover stuff, I always say if you're going to do something like that, maybe stick something underneath it that's going to give it some kind of ability to stand upright, right? So usually I'll use a piece of clear acrylic, but it can be something. If you just balance that right, you can do that. It's just barely balanced on there. It's not even glued. Yeah, good balance, right? But yeah, you can go that route. Like I said, there's lots of things you can do. Ooh, can I do it? Let's see. Dang, I'm good. You ever see that guy that balances stuff? Yeah. All right. So if you're going to do a hover vehicle, you want to make it so that it looks like it's kind of slightly off the ground. But we're not doing hover vehicles today. We're doing wheeled vehicles. One of the fun things with wheeled vehicles is accessorizing them. Now, I went the route of buying these little beads. I couldn't find any really good ones, but these seem to kind of fit the bill. You can pick these up at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I think I got these at, I want to say Hobby Lobby. Or any other hobby store, any place they sell beads, Walmart. I don't know any stores outside the U.S., so sorry, folks, if you live outside the U.S., but these really itty-bitty ones seem like a pretty good way to go. Let me see here. Let's see if I can get one on here. So without gluing it on, let's see if I can get this one on here. These really tiny ones seem like they'd be a pretty good rivet or bolt. I think I'm probably going to use those for some rivets. Those look really good. They're really, really small and just about perfect. And they're flat on the back, so they're plastic, so they'll probably glue down really well. And even came with a little handy container to keep them in. So pretty happy with that purchase. I think these were maybe like $6, $7, maybe $8. I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff in there, probably a few hundred. Other thing I found is, and I probably showed you guys a while back if you've been watching my videos, is this kind of like weird, funky collection of plastic gears for I don't know, some decorative purpose. If you're into steampunk stuff, these would probably be right up your alley. What I saw is an opportunity to make wheels. And what I kind of liked were these. These really reminded me of, what am I thinking of? They reminded me of, what are they called? If you ever go off-roading, you can put these protectors, so like wheel center rings or rim rings. Basically, what they act as is as a guard to guard the rim of your wheel when you go off-roading. And I forget what they're called though. Oh, well, bead locks. They're kind of like bead locks, but these aren't the bead lock part. They're just the part that kind of goes on the wheel. If anybody remembers what that is, I could always look it up later. But yeah, it kind of brings up my next point, and that's that one of the things that really makes your model stand out is kind of bringing it a little bit of familiarity to the viewer, the person that's going to looking at it. So yeah, it's cool to have this sort of super minimalistic sci-fi looking thing that's just totally far and away different from other stuff you've seen on the street. You know, it doesn't look like, clearly doesn't look like a pickup truck or an M1 Abrams, but you know, maybe you want to make it look a little more realistic. So if you want to make something look kind of realistic, it kind of helps to understand how stuff works. So in the case of this particular vehicle, looks like my glue came off. Uh-oh, that's the problem with using soda straws. It doesn't glue real well. But if you want to make something that looks realistic, you kind of have to understand a little bit of the terminology when it comes to vehicles. So believe it or not, there are vehicles that have wheels and axles that look like this. And what these are called are solid axle vehicles. In other words, they've got one axle that goes from point A to point B, from left to right, from one wheel to the other. You got one long continuous axle, and usually they're separated by something called a differential. And what that is kind of the little, and you've probably seen them. Sometimes people refer to them as pumpkins, but you know, whatever. Basically what they are is a little pod that looks about maybe that size on most. And what these little balls on these solid axles contain are a number of gears that connect to a drive shaft. Well, that's not really a drive shaft. This would be a drive shaft. A drive shaft, and that drive shaft goes to what would be described as, like, let's say your transmission, right? And if you got a four-wheel drive, it'd be something like it wouldn't be like, if you're rear-wheel drive, you only have one axle and you only have one drive shaft. You've got your transmission and then your engine. So your engine drives the transmission drives the drive shaft spins the little gears in here, and then this whole thing starts rotating around, right? If you've got something like a 4x4, then I know this is getting real technical, so sorry. We'll get to the model making in a second. If you've got something that is a 4x4 and it normally drives in a rear wheel drive configuration, in other words, only the rear wheels are moving, or in some cases, front wheel drive where only the front wheels are moving, you need something that can shift it from moving just one set of wheels to all four sets of wheels, right? That's where the four-wheel drive comes in. And so how does that happen? Well, instead of just having the engine and then the transmission, right, moving the drive shaft to one set of wheels, right? So like, here's your engine, here's the transmission. That's where all the other stuff happens. Your gear shifting and stuff. Then you've got your drive shaft, and then you've got your rear set of wheels, right? So how do you make that change? Well, when you've got a four-wheel drive vehicle, you have two drive shafts, one going to the front and one going to the rear, right? And then there's a little gearbox that goes in the middle, and what that does is it shifts it from two wheels rolling to all four rolling. And that's how four-wheel drive works in the most basic, simple way possible. I could explain it because it's a lot more complicated than that. But, is it though? It's not really. All right. So that's how that works. So that's why when you see a vehicle and it's just got drive shafts on it, I mean, if you want to give it a little bit more realism, you might put a little gearbox in here in the middle and then run a little drive shaft to the top. Even if it doesn't even actually connect to anything, it would probably look something like this. And anybody who's got a Matchbox car or a Hot Wheels car, look underneath that little car and they probably made something that looks like this in molded plastic. So yeah, I mean, just to add a little bit more realism, not that anybody's going to go flipping your models over, but if you want to just add that sort of extra element of detail, you can do that. So adding a little extra element of realism to your models by adding some mechanical features that kind of seem like they would be functional, even though they're completely not, that's always something fun to do. The other one is shocks. So since we're talking about wheels, and a lot of people, I think, really get confused about how shocks work. So shocks are pretty easy. And it's real easy to build one. So I'm going to teach you how to make a sort of a semi-working toy shock. So this one, I think, came out of probably a spray bottle. You can get these out of pen caps and stuff, but this is a pretty good one. So we got a nice little spring. And what you need is some kind of shaft to go into that spring, right? So let's see if I've got something here. I know I grabbed one. This was kind of, that kind of works. All right, so you'd have a shaft that would go into that. And let's see. You normally need something on top of that. So you want something to put some downward force on this spring, right? You can use a screw. How about this one? All right, so the end of the spring's attached to something, right? And you want to keep it from going down all the way into there. Let me see here. I know I've got a little bit better toy. Here we go. This one will probably work better. So that's probably a better idea. All right, so there we go. Let me cram that thing in there. Let's make this longer. All right. So you have this sort of like rod that goes inside the shock. And then you would need something that would put some force on that spring, right? And then something that would cap over the spring. And then maybe something that goes over that too. So, well, this will work. Okay. So basically what you're getting is you've got one point where this is attached to something. And let's put something else on it too while we're at it. About that right there. Making a very complicated shock here all of a sudden. All right. So the way these things kind of work is you've got one point that is putting pressure on one side. What I don't like is this is not open at the end. So let me clip this part off real quick. Otherwise it's going to get super complicated. Let's see. Sorry. Sorry, buddy. I've got a million tools in a giant toolbox and I can't even find one pair of wire cutters. All right, so here we go. Here's the spring. Here's our crazy looking little non-realistic shock. I wonder if I can get this on here. Like this. Oh yeah, that's cool. All right, now we're cooking with fire. All right. So we got that. Here's our little thing. Usually what you got is a kind of a little box that goes over it, right? So what you would do is you put a point of articulation here. So this part would be attached to an axle. And usually you'll see that little ring around the end of them because that's where you bolt it down. I mean, that's something you can do if you want. But basically you've got a rod with a spring, and then this tube allows the rod to go into the tube, but holds the spring in place. So what it does in essence is it keeps the spring, right? Let's say if this is an invisible portion of it, it keeps the spring tense while allowing the rod to move up, right? And that's how you get your shock. So you've got your shock body, and you've got the shock rod, and then you've got a spring. So you would put a connection point here to the vehicle, and then a connection point here to the axle, and there's your spring. And that's how a shock works. Pretty straightforward. So all you really need is you need a rod, long thin one, you need a spring, something flat on the bottom. So in other words, you want a sort of a T shape, right? Like this on one side. Something that'll hold the spring in place, but it'll travel the whole length of that rod. Then you want something that's going to put pressure against this spring. In other words, keep the spring from going inside the tube. And it can be a washer, it can be anything. In this case, I just use this big piece of metal. And then you want this tube to hide this. Now, in a real shock, this tube is usually filled with some kind of oil or liquid that kind of creates not just a little added tension and pressure, but it also keeps the rod lubricated and it keeps it from generating a lot of heat because, you know, going up and down like that, it's going to get real hot. You can mess up the metal. So what happens is you've got your own little homemade shocks here that you can make. And they're as strong or as springy as the spring is, right? So if you got springs that are like really bouncy and tiny, those are awesome, especially for toys because, you know, they don't weigh anything. The more tension there is on the spring, the stiffer the shock is. And that's it. That's how you make a shock. Pretty easy, right? Seems pretty easy. You just got a little rod, you put a spring on it, you put something on the end of that, and it can even be something as simple as this. You know, you don't even have to show this part. But yeah, that's one way to do it. And you know, it can go even tinier if you wanted to. If you have a really tiny spring and you don't have a really big one like that, you could probably go super big. The other thing you can do, or the other thing that about springs is they have different types. So you'll notice this one's much larger on one end than it is on the other end. This is a tapered spring. So if you look at it from a distance, you can kind of see a little bit better. It's big on this side and little on this side. All right, so that's a tapered spring. Hey, what's up, Thomby? How's it going? When you've got a spring that has a collection of coils that are real tight on one end, like this, and then loose on the other end, like this, that's called a progressive spring. And what that means is it'll bounce really well on this side. It'll contract really easily on one end, but where it's collected, it's got a lot more tension and it's going to be a lot stiffer and a lot more difficult. So that's called a progressive spring. that's kind of a progressive spring is a kind of shock that makes your ride a little bit more comfortable, I think, because it can take those soft bumps, but when it hits something really hard, it'll compress and then it'll hit that progressive part of the spring and it'll kind of be a little bit stiffer. So you get kind of the best of both worlds of both a soft and a hard suspension. So Thambi, I was just showing how to make your own little homemade shock. If you got like a little spring like this out of a pen or some kind of spray bottle, and you got any kind of piece of rod that has something on the end of it, whether it's shaped that way from the beginning or you added it yourself. I mean, it can even be something as simple as a nail. You don't have to use a plastic rod. As long as you've got something that's sort of nail shaped, in other words, it's got a flat piece on the bottom and then a rod along the top that keeps the spring from falling off, right? So that's the bottom of your spring, just to cover this again. And then you've got something on top of that that fits over the rod but keeps the spring from going over, right? So you can push the spring down while still pushing the rod all the way through. And then the last part is just some kind of tube. I mean, it can be something like this plastic tube here, so you can kind of see that. Or it could be something like a much bigger tube. But basically, that's a shock right there. So there you go. That's how to make your own homemade shock. Once again, you're welcome. All right. And the whole point of this was just to kind of give folks an opportunity to figure out a way to make the models they make seem slightly more realistic. If you want to, you don't have to go that route. Yeah, just like that. So I wanted to put a little motor on this one, and I guess this is kind of like my little motor, but there's not a lot of detail to it. Maybe I want to put some more detail on it. Stick some kind of gearing on it. I got these little gears, like I said, at a hobby store, or I guess you'd call it I wouldn't say a model hobby store, but they're just a little collection of little toys and gears that you can get at any kind of those little shops that sell flowers and framing and paints and things. So I picked that up. Another thing you can do is add springs, or just some sort of little piece of plastic that kind of gives it a little bit more detail. This might look cool. Might put something like that on both sides. There's a heat sink. I just took this off of a motherboard. You can even buy these separately, I believe. You might put a heat sink on there to kind of give it a little bit more like a radiator look or something. I don't know. Maybe underneath it. That might be cool. Like this. Just something to give it a little bit more of a motor look. The other thing I was talking about earlier was I got a bunch of beads. That should be of no surprise to anyone who's watched a lot of other hobbyists. This is a pretty old trick, is just finding tiny beads. In this case, these are like little rhinestones that came in different sizes, and they make for really excellent rivets. So there's one right there, little bitty rivet. But yeah, so there's just some ways you can do it. Now, what I was thinking on these wheels today is I'm trying to decide between, do I want to put these sort of beadlock looking guards on there to kind of give it sort of that militaristic look? Or do I want to put these actually, it's so weird. They actually fit right in the middle of this. Like they just slot in just so perfectly. So I mean, there you go. I mean, I basically have just got these big mag wheels on these chocolate milk bottle tops. And those came up looking pretty good. I think I might just use those. Yeah, I know, right? Sort of weird. I do have these coconut milk ones. And I thought, oh, these might be cool, but they sort of stick out a little bit too much. I don't know, they look a little too teethy. These might be okay, but again, sort of small. What, these right here? Yeah, I kind of like these. They've got, almost gives it like a hub and everything. So I'm probably going to go that route. And then for the motor, I'll probably put that heat sink under here. And I'm kind of liking the way these two things look. I think these came off of, what did these come from? Oh, I remember. I think I remember what these are. So I like kind of the way these look. I don't know that I should attach them to the box because then they're kind of be sort of uneven. But I sort of like the way they look with, maybe I could put them on like this or put them on the side, you know, something like that. Just to kind of give it like a little extra something. The other thing I was thinking of, you know, if you don't like the big, thick, fat barrel like I put on this thing, I wanted a big cannon. You can always look for other types of barrels. I mean, this probably would have looked okay. Like a long range barrel or something, like a little howitzer. I found this one too that looked kind of cool. And these are just out of all sorts of plastic, like, I don't know if this is from deodorant or a spray bottle. Most of these are probably from spray bottles. I mean, if I really wanted to go crazy and put like some giant shooter on there. Yeah, we don't need that. But yeah, oh, here's a little itty bitty shock. Little tiny baby one. Well, I say it's a shock, but it's a tiny spring. Yeah, so thing is, you can get all kinds of different size springs from different types of bottles, pen caps. You know, there's always some place you can source them from. What I like about these big long ones is they're very squishy, and you can probably get two out of this, right? So clip it in half, and then you can use, or even into thirds or fourths if you wanted to. So that makes for some fun stuff. Spray bottles have so much junk inside them. It's amazing. All right, so let's get to some building. Let's see which, oh, there's some glue. And I'm just gonna glue right over this primer. I don't really care if it's, you know, on there or not. These are nice and flat on the back, so they should glue pretty well. I'm just gonna put a little dab like in the center. See if we got a little bit of crusties in here. I never did master the art of keeping my glue tips from drying out and getting stuck. That's for greater minds than I. And I know there's lots of ways to do it, so I don't have to like potentially stab myself with scissors, but I'm what you call a lazy hobbyist. Here we go. Coming out now? Yep, there we go. Yeah. All right. Doesn't have to be too much, just a little dab. They kind of seat themselves in the center here, so. Let's see. Maybe I do, you know what? It may not even be making contact with the center now that I'm looking at it. So I might have to do it on the edges. Yeah, let me try that. Oh, it kind of looked like it was a little bit. Let's smear this around the edges. I'm with the type of person that thinks a little bit of glue is plenty. You don't really need a lot, but I always end up putting more glue than I absolutely need, which I always hate because I hate using that much glue. All right, let's try another one. Hopefully I've got 4 of these. I think I do. All right. They seem to be going on pretty easily. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. Let me let him out real quick while we let these two dry. All right. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. What do you want? You want a snack? Here. Spoiled. looks good. And where's the little magnet one that I had on here? Here it is. Probably want to put that back on. Okay, got some nice big gold mags on that. Let's get the other ones. So what are you up to today, Thomby? What brings you to these parts, or did you leave already? Okay. There's another one. And if you do decide to make one of these little deodorant tanks with the milk bottle wheels, it doesn't have to look just like mine. It can look, you can just accessorize it however you like, you know? Oh, really? Yeah. I get tired of moving stuff around the house, that's for sure. So, one of the problems I was running into with the magnets is I have to put a magnet underneath. You can see my little finger. That's where the magnet was. So, you'll see that the paint's kind of scraping off because this is kind of a transparent container. So, I was putting the magnet down here, down into this little area, and putting it right about here and just basically feeling it out where I wanted it. And then that would kind of decide and determine where I was going to put my turret. The turret has a magnet glued onto it. So not a big deal, right? So let's do that. I get my magnet, I put it on my hand, and you can almost see where it is when I have my finger on it. And then the turret just grabs it, right? There's a little snapping sound. So there's my turret. But I'm not really crazy about this gap. So one of the things I was thinking is if I could find like a big washer of some kind, and I think I had one laying around here somewhere, I could make that gap look a little less, you know, gappy. This might be a good way to do it, and that's just put this around that, but it doesn't have big enough holes. So what else can I use? What else can I use here? How about, I think I had a little plastic ring of some kind here. Let's see. A big metal washer would work. I could maybe use this just to kind of, but see that I think if it's too far, the magnet won't make contact. So I just need it to be kind of something flat. I guess that's something I could figure out here in a little bit. Let's see if there's anything else in here we can use. There's another kind of little bottle top type of thing I thought might make some fun axles or, you know, bits for wheels. Metal rubber washer would work. Yeah, some kind of washer I think would probably be easy. I could even use one of these and just clip out the spokes. That might be one way to go. Let's take a look at it. Is that something I want to use? Let's see. One of the things I'm worried about is, yeah, see, it's going to be kind of a little bit of an angle. There's lots of ways to get around that. Like, let's say if I wanted to use this. And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of, it's an oval shape and there's this thing. One trick you can do is put some sandpaper over the curved object and just grab this one, if it's plastic preferably, and just rub back and forth until this starts to take on the shape of the object below it from the sandpaper. Put the sandpaper away and then perfect fit. You can glue it back in. The other thing you can do is just fill in the gaps with baking powder, baking soda, and super glue, which I like to kind of not do because the less I have to fill in, the easier it is for me later when I want to do the cleanup. But let's see. I thought I had, let's see, we got a little pile of stuff here. Let's put the beads out of the way for now. Anything in here? Lots of junk. This is kind of cool. Too thick. Armor plating, maybe? This is kind of fun. Let me keep those. Maybe I want to use these as armor plating. I have like a million of them. What if I just layered these weird, like, shield wall kind of armor plates everywhere? That would be funny. No. This is what collecting bottle caps does to you. I have Andy to blame for this. I never looked twice at a bottle cap before. Now it's like, ugh, why do I have so many? What have I done to myself? There's nothing wrong with collecting bottle caps. Just, you know, maybe take it easy on the bottle cap collection is what I'm saying. This is kind of cool. This is like a squishy thing, though. Torpedo. Can make ourselves a little bomb of some kind. Or something. Maybe. Blimp. Zeppelin. I don't know. Let's put this over here. I really like the shape of some of these soda bottle caps. They've got that nice tread on them, which makes for kind of a cool off-roady kind of vehicle kind of shape. I wonder if I can put this in here. Ooh, that's almost a perfect fit. Look at that. So perfect I can't get it out again. That's actually not too bad. Did these match up with these? That's actually kind of cool too. All right, getting sidetracked. All right. However, I did find some other parts in here that are kind of neat that I might want to use. That's kind of cool. Maybe a little engine type exhaust thingy. That's a lot of coconut water. Yeah, if you're messing with these neodymium magnets, be real careful because they will pretty much grab anything. They're super strong. And one of the last things you want to touch with these magnets is batteries. I'm not even going to get close to that because that's not good. You could short your battery if it comes in contact with another piece of metal. The other thing you don't want it to touch is screens, laptop screens, monitors, your phone. These magnets are strong enough, maybe not to permanently ruin your hard drives, but at least cause a lot of issues. If you get a really strong one, like the one I had earlier, which was a bar, this guy here, this is a super strong magnet. The bigger the magnet is, typically on these, the stronger it is. This magnet will definitely not just mess up your monitor, but it could potentially mess up your hard drive. It'll definitely mess up a couple of batteries. And if you're not careful, it can mess up your fingers too when you're trying to snap these together. You're not really supposed to snap these. Neodymium magnets are actually kind of a little bit on the brittle side. And if you let these slam against each other too hard or hit a piece of metal too hard, they'll actually shatter. And that's another thing you want to watch out for because you could injure yourself. So anyway, magnet safety, folks. All right. I'm not really crazy about using that one piece, but I don't know, this one might not be too bad. Yeah, I think I could do that. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah. We'll get back to that in a minute. There was another thing I wanted to try. Let me see if I got another. Ah, is that it? I think that's it right there. Nope. Another cool piece out of a spray bottle. I think this was the trigger or one of the grips, something like that. Man, I don't know what kind of spray bottle it was. I'm trying to remember, but it had some cool parts. I was thinking maybe some fenders. Who knows? Could be hooks. Maybe some sort of spiky claw things that come out of the front of this thing. Some sort of scoop. I don't know. Some other weird stuff in there. There was one piece I was looking for. It was kind of like a gasket of some kind that came out of something. Let me see if I can find it over on this other table here. So many tables. No, not seeing it. Well, not sure where that one went to. But we can definitely fix that later. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so we got that, we got that. It's probably a good idea to glue the magnet in place at this point. Let's get these off of here. These are the ones I was using for the axles. We'll get back to those in a second. Let's put those right there. So this one. Hey, no problem. See you, Thomby. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see here. I think what I'm going to do is glue the magnet in place for the turret. We're going to say about right there. So let's get a little bit of glue on the magnet. Since I'm going to do this permanently now, I want to make sure it's facing the right direction. So one little trick you can do is if you're not sure which side is the side that's connecting to the one you've got, in other words, which two sides are supposed to be the attracting ones, you can put a little dot with a Sharpie marker or an X or something on the sides that are supposed to go together. That way you don't forget. Or the opposite. I mean, it doesn't really matter, whichever way you decide to go. But, yeah. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this. If I can get it out. Come on, glue. Did it freeze up on me again? Oh, no, it's coming out. Okay. Trick is not to get it in my fingers. All right. Let's see if I can keep this straight enough. I want to go in this way. Right about there. Uh-oh. can see that magnet in there. Right in the middle. But I want it to stay there. So it looks like it dried just enough. Hola, Raul. Thanks for stopping by. So here's some super glue. I mean, this is cyanoacrylate. CA glue, they also call it. But this is what you're looking for right here on the label. If I can get it. Here we go. Cyanoacrylate ester. No, está bien. Si quieres escribir en español, yo puedo leer. All right, so what I'm going to do, here's some baking soda. Same thing you can clean your kitchen with, or use in cooking, or brush your teeth with. I mean, you know, there's all sorts of uses for it. You put a little bit of this in some vinegar and you can watch it boil up like a volcano. So there's a magnet in there. There's some glue. And for those of you who are not too good at English and speak more Spanish, lo que tengo es el pigmento, el cianoacrílido adentro de este tubo, y voy a poner esto, la soda bicarbonata. And the reason I'm doing that is to accelerate the glue hardening. See that? And then whatever's left over, I'm just going to put back in here. Okay, looks good. All right. Okay. Thanks. All right, Raul. So we got a magnet. I just glued the other magnet on the inside edge right there, right about there. And that's why this is sticking down. So I'm going to do the same thing for the wheels, which I just covered with these little plastic things. And these aren't any wheels I bought at the store. These are just milk, chocolate milk bottle tops. And these little guys I got from a kit, a bag of accessories from, I think it was Walmart or Hobby Lobby or one of those places. It's just came with a bunch of little plastic gears. They're just decorative. Things like that. But you can get stuff like this from anywhere. Old clocks, watches, printers. All right. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this one. And then I'm going to put it about right there. And we're going to hide that on the inside. Let's see if I want to glue this here. Yeah, let's do that. right. I think I'm going to put this one about right here. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. 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 Mm-hmm. Hmm. 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 Let's see. Hmm. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm getting a little tiny blob of glue. I'm putting it on the end of the screwdriver, and I'm just tapping it on there. And then I'm going to get one of these little guys. And I'm just going to very carefully move that onto that little dab of glue and push it down. And there you go. Sharp tool for this. Not my first choice for cutting this plastic, but it is pretty soft plastic. Toenail cutters or fingernail cutters, whatever you want to use them for, but you know, works pretty good for this. Pretty accurate too. Be careful with them. I just thought it'd be cool to put some little recovery hooks on here. Uh-oh. Mm. Mm. I think I'm losing a little bit of adhesion here. So looks like some paint came off, and when the bead popped off, and it's a little bit harder to glue onto that plastic for underneath it for some reason, but seems to be staying on there now. So what I've got here is a few rivets and some kind of areas that I wanted to put rivets on, I guess. I'm keeping this so that I can put stuff in it. I don't know, maybe lights later, battery. Haven't decided yet. Nice thing about having stuff that's hollow is you've got options, right? So being able to keep that as a separate piece that I can mess around with later is always going to be fun. I'm going to put some more rivets maybe across the side. Another thing you can do is wheel wells, but I'm not sure if I want to do wheel wells. Let's see. If I wanted to do a wheel well, though, probably do it with this. That dangerous magnet. Let's see. Let's get a little bit camera angle over there. So what if I got this, or something similar, and you could probably use an X-Acto and score it, and it'd be a little dangerous, but you could do it. But I'm just going to use this little saw, just a coping saw. Looks about right. See if I can cut the rest of this with scissors. Pretty good. be better though, right? But if I were using little wheels, I could glue this on like that. And I could have some small wheels underneath. So if you want to make a vehicle with fenders, fenders would be pretty easy to make. You just find a cap, preferably one that's already got a hole in it, but it doesn't have to have a hole. I mean, if you're just going to use it as the backside, you put it on there like that, because if it doesn't have a hole, at least you have a wheel well. And then you put your wheel in front of it. Okay. So try to match it up with something big. This might be good for a spaceship later. Another spray bottle container. This one too. I thought about using this for the turret because it's got this really cool little shape, but I couldn't find out what to put underneath it. You know, we'll figure something out. But I'm liking the way these are looking. So let's see how it looks so far. I kind of want this further up, like right here. Like instead of there, maybe right about there. Like about right here. What's up, Esron? All right. Kind of don't like the way that this one is. It's a little bit too far back, so I'm gonna yank this one off. That was easy. That just popped right off. So let's shoot for about right here. Instead. Maybe a little bit over to the middle. Yeah, I think I like that better. Yeah, this is cool. Liking that. So I like the way you can do the four-way steering. That's kind of a cool, fun look. Or you can just do this. I also like that since it's got the magnets on it, it gives it kind of like almost like a suspension, right? Which again gives it kind of a cool, more realistic look. And we got some recovery hooks up front. Some rivets. Little bit beefed out engine with a heatsink and a filter, an exhaust, another exhaust. Maybe, I don't know what that is. Seems like it needs something right here though. But what do I want to put there? Maybe an extra barrel. Something like this. I don't want anything that's going to interfere with the wheels though. And I don't want anything that's going to interfere with that. So, I mean, if I put it up here, it might be okay. Maybe further back. And I have these things, and I kind of want to do something with these. Yeah, it's like a little rover type anti-personnel tank vehicle type thingy mabob, you know? One of those doohickeys. I could probably put some more rivets on it. Maybe put some across the top on that. I want to do something with these little plunger things, but I don't know what I want to do with them. You know, I don't want them to get too, I don't want this to get too convoluted and weird. Maybe lights. If I clipped off these pieces, I could put some lights in the front, but then it looks like a little frog. And then if I put them over here, maybe if I put them on one side, nah. Or I could just clip one off, put it inside this thing, and then put this thing inside here. Yeah, but it's got enough guns. Don't know. I really like the shape of this thing too. This is like super cool looking. I don't know what I'd use it for. I thought I was going to use it on the turret maybe, but I put that big gun on there. I thought maybe putting it on the back of the turret. Seems like the turret's got all the details though, right? Oops. Uh-oh. Anyway, the whole point of this experiment was just to kind of, you know, give some people an idea that, you know, you can basically just build a little vehicle out of just about anything. It's like some of these, this hub's coming off of this wheel. New phone. Yeah, this is the new phone. Actually, it's not my new phone. It's the old phone that I sent in. Well, I take that back. I had an S10. I got an S22. Turns out the S22 was overheating when I was streaming on Twitch. And man, I'm trying to fix the focus here. God, I hate this phone. I think it's the, there we go. Yeah, it was overheating on Twitch, and I think the phone overheats in general. And I sent it to Samsung, and they quote unquote tested it. More like they turned it on and turned it off again. Yeah, they said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with it, sir," which is a bunch of baloney, because I say it is. Yeah, I had the same problem with my old phone. Oh, look, here's another part that looks just like that part. Maybe I'll just yank this part off. Ooh. And I'll put this part in its place, because I like the way that looks better. And then these, since they are exactly the same, can get mounted to the side to add some details or something. I don't know. This would have been really good for my shock thing earlier. Where was it when I needed it? This little thing here is kind of cool. Do I have two of these? Yeah, I got two of these. So what if I glued this thing to this thing and then mounted those on the side? Interesting, weird. I don't know. I don't know. I'll put them on the back. Or I clip these things. I can put this on the side. I don't know. Not sure. Just feels like it needs something right here. I just don't know what. Or maybe it doesn't need something there. It just needs something like underneath it. But I kind of like the fact that it's sort of smooth under here because it can, you know, go over stuff that makes sense. Something. I do have this thing. Looks like this one's coming loose. Uh-oh, it came loose. I can fix that. It's fixable. Boom, fixed. So, yeah, I'm thinking we'll put this here. Let's get a little some stuff on it. There we go. Another turret fix. Kind of a little cage would be cool in the back here. I don't know. What do you think? Something like that? That makes sense for a turret. You know, put stuff in. I think I want to put some bars. Maybe next time we revisit this guy, we'll get some little tubes and bars and things. I kind of wanted to do that from the beginning, is put some grab bars on it, but I didn't know where. You know, maybe something like this. That might be a good way to go. So I think we probably are good here, calling it quits on this project for now. Uh-oh, I lost the magnet. But yeah, lots to consider. Lots of little bits and pieces you can add to these things. Lots of options. So let me glue this little guy back on here. I think it's important too to know when to stop. Like, you know, there's only so much you can do with the parts you got. You want to go look for some more parts. The thing about building stuff like this is you can just keep going and going and going and going and going and going and sort of never end, and just keep. I have a motorcycle like that. I just keep adding stuff to it, and I haven't ridden it in years because I keep putting things on it. So I think what you got to do is just get to a point where you're happy with it. If there's something that that's just not gelling for you, let it sit for a day or two even. Just take a look at what you've done and kind of go, well, what is it? What is it that's missing here? Get a hold of the overall shape. Look at it. Maybe look at pictures of other vehicles to get some inspiration, and add features like that. I mean, do I really want a radar dish up here? Is that something I want to do? Like, let's say I put a little dish like this on the tank turret. It could be a dish. It could be a light. Do I want to put another gun on it? How big do I want to do it? Like maybe one right here. Do I want to keep it clean and simple? I think one of the guys on Instagram was saying, he likes how clean it is. Hey, if you want to just keep it super simple and clean, do it super simple and clean. Like every painting you've ever done, stop painting about 2 hours after I've ruined it. Yeah. The fun thing about paintings, just and with models too, you really never ruin anything. It's always repairable. It's always fixable. There's always something you can do to make it different, make it right. I mean, you can just backtrack. I don't know how many times I've heard someone say that they ruined the paint job. Scrub the paint off. I mean, it's not super hard. You glue something on that doesn't look like it belongs, just yank it off and you can fix it later. There isn't anything that can't be fixed or repaired or redone somehow. So, yeah, I just want to make sure that I kind of hammer that through, because I think a lot of people just say, oh, there's nothing else I can do. It's not the way I wanted it to look. Pretty much nothing you ever do is going to look the way you want it to look. I mean, that's just the fact of life. Sometimes it's a happy accident. Sometimes it's just like, oh, well, you go on. But there's nothing that's completely irreparable. The only thing that makes something irreparable is time. If you don't have the time to fix it, that's one thing. But if you've got nothing but time, then yeah, I mean, you can pretty much fix anything. It's just a matter of how much time and effort you want to put into something. As far as paintings, like I said, if it's on canvas and unless you tore a hole in the canvas, lit it on fire, and buried it in the ground, you can fix it. But yeah, I think we're good here. I think we've gotten to a point where I'll probably add some more of these rivets. I kind of like them. They're sort of growing on me a little bit. I just wanted to put some on there just for grins to see what it would look like. Maybe I'll put a couple on this little guy along the side, just, around this edge right here where this sort of separated piece looks like it is. And I think when I paint this is all going to be like silver. This will all be a solid color, kind of like I did with those robot legs. And it has kind of like a real weird welded, like heavy duty metal look to it, But the other thing I wanted to do is get some kind of gasket and put it in between here. I don't like this separation. How I'm going to do that, I'm not real sure yet. We will see. One idea I was looking at was getting one of these, cutting the middle out of that out, and then just gluing it in place right here. So that when it, seats down, it's got like this nice sort of gear looking thing that kind of rests on it. Since the magnet's going to be doing all the rest of the work. And it's just about the right thickness too, it looks like. See? So that might look cool. We'll see what happens. We'll see how that turns out. But, yeah, it'll tie it in with the wheels too, It'll kind of carry that aesthetic over. Not 2 hours after you ruined it, 2 days of work. Oh, well, Yeah, well. It's just, that's how you learn. Some people learn fast, some people learn slow. But all right, folks, it's been about an hour and 41 minutes. I actually have to clean up some stuff before my wife gets home. On another note, I did buy some cool stuff today. I got some Sakura Prisma. Is it Prisma? I always say Prisma. Pigma. I don't know why I said Prisma. I keep thinking Prismacolors. But yeah, some Sakura Pigma markers, some pens. I love these things, man. So I'm going to get to do some more pen and ink stuff later. Also picked up a new chair for the garage. Unfortunately, the garage is still like 1,000 degrees too hot for me to work in. Man, look at this. Another cool barrel looking thing. I should make some guns. And I also picked up some more brushes, some wooden balls. Yeah, you know those wooden balls, they're just the best. Believe it or not, I'm probably going to use these for ball joints in my OMC build, which is going to be the next set of videos, probably all the way through October. So not going to be doing a lot of these little vehicles for a while, or any other little toys or robots. Not a lot of sculpting. Well, I say not a lot of sculpting, but no sculpting any characters. That robot has a deadline of October 30th, and I haven't even started it yet. I wanted to make it a ball jointed robot. And I got some cos clay, so I'm going to experiment with that. And that's where these are going to come in. But anyway, more on that next time. Like I said, I got these little bead things from Hobby Lobby. Or not beads, rhinestones. If you get a chance to pick some up, I mean, they really are kind of cool. They're a little bit annoying if you don't like tiny, tiny things that get glitter all over your house. The Molduga is not... the Molduga was kind of a Christmas project, so that's going to be on hold until after OMC. OMC's due October 30th. And it's only it's August, middle of August. So I've got August, September, and then October. I barely got 2 months. So I don't know if I can knock out a full-fledged, big, super cool robot in 60 days, but especially working full-time. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know. That's part of the fun and excitement. Maybe I'll get it done. Maybe I won't. I should probably have a backup. I thought about that, actually. I thought about doing a backup robot. But, yeah, no. I mean, if I really put my mind to it, I could probably knock it out. I just have to stop procrastinating. But I wanted to do a couple little videos for the, aspiring model maker out there, or scratch builder. Just to kind of show you can make a fun little tank or vehicle out of just about anything. I think it's one of the fun things about scratch building stuff. Yeah, so this is the end of the simple stuff. Super complicated things coming. GBOGH. Good, but only good. What? I don't know what that means. Anyway, man, we'll talk later. Thanks, guys, for stopping by, those of you that did. And if you're watching this later, thanks for watching. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please. Oh, go big or go home. Yeah. He does say that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more like, yeah. I'm not so much as a go big as much as a go overly complicated or go home. But yeah, we'll see you guys soon. You might not see any videos from me for a little bit, but rest assured I will be working on something spectacular. Also coming up, I think the last time I checked, I was at 280 subscribers. So that means 300 subscriber giveaway is coming up soon. I put a little notification on Insta for those of you interested in subscribing that haven't already. Please do. Number 300 gets a prize. What will it be? I do not know. You know, whatever it is, it'll be out of my own pocket. Maybe you'll get some gears. Maybe you'll get a piece of plastic or a piece of metal or some baking soda used slightly. Slightly used. I'm sure it'll be something cool that you'll want. All right. Thanks, folks. Talk to you later. Bye.